right, let's see what we got going on here. I don't think we're gonna have Tawa joining us, unfortunately, today. So we're gonna pop in to the chat, the boys, like we used to. Let's see what they got going on.
Yeah, that uphill will
Gentlemen,
kill a dude.
Oh boy.
how we doing?
Ha ha ha! That's your fucking entrance noise, dude.
I'm gonna be hanging out with you guys for a little bit because I got no Jawa tonight.
Oh,
No joke.
oh my god, dude. That's A1 fucking comedy right there, dude.
Oh fuck yeah, I'm El Garito the Great.
How's
Scared
the
shit out of Josh
Mustang?
the other day with it.
Oh no, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Dude, just today I had like 3 fucking people come up to me and say, that's gonna be like awful in the winter, right? And I go, I don't care. Shut up. Stop bringing it up.
That's a
V8?
winter Tom problem. It's not winter Tom yet. Leave me
Is it
alone.
V8
I'm
house?
still summer Tom.
I'll get to that problem when I fucking cross it. And even when I do cross it, I am not worried.
Yo, is it a V8 or a V6?
It's a V4.
V4. We don't have
4-cylinder inline,
We don't. I mean,
turbocharged.
they're very rare, but we pretty much don't have any V8 Mustangs. Fucking sucks.
Tell you what, I drove it to the fucking you're in England, so you don't know where this is, but it's a very nice vacation spot about 3 hours away from me.
I don't think anyone
And
knows where that is.
I was letting that shit burn. Fucking on the highway going like 90. Cruising around. And the fucking great part about it too is that I get great fucking gas mileage.
Is that 90 miles per hour?
90 miles an hour, think upwards of like 140 kilometers an hour.
Are you saying miles per hour or kilometers?
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, yeah, I was saying in 90 miles an hour.
Oh, that's what I understand.
All right. So let's take a look at your stand-ins, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, them and theys.
Dudes and dudettes.
Oh, we got some battles going, huh? Looks like everyone's still pushing to get standings moved around too, and we got some new racers in. That'll be interesting.
Oh, do we? Who's new
Godspeed,
this week?
boys. We actually have 4 new racers on the grid this week.
Really?
Yeah. We were able to get 4 new slots filled in. And we still have a few more on the wait list. So.
You want to go around me because I dirtied my tires? El Gareto the Great.
Ooh, it's foggy.
It could be worse.
Alright, let me pop out. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks, see you, Buggy.
Alright, a little easier to do the broadcast thing without having to chat with them. We kind of narrate a little bit more because I don't really want to distract them too much. And we got some veterans in the chat to help some of the newcomers if they get stuck with joining or anything like that. We're on board now at Jesus. Looks like he's coming around for his first hot lap of the evening. Should be crossing the line shortly, so we'll see what kind of time he's putting up. 14km/h wind at the moment, and let me just adjust the track map here. You can see, I know it's a funky angle, but that is a little bit more actually. That's going to be more reflective of the wind, so you'll get a better sense of what's going on. But Jesus puts up a 146.013. Osh ripping back with a 146.3. This is his first race back after having some issues with the sim rig. Gonna tune in though to Anemonism. I think we saw him on the standings, at least somewhere worth mentioning here. All right, so he's currently in the amateur class. He's just shy of that tie for third place, and with 13 points, so currently sitting P5, but definitely not out of striking distance. And again, classes are going to move around, and I don't see his competitors in just yet, so it looks like he'll be getting a couple extra laps in on these cooler track temps. So let him really pound in the sauce and see if he can get a good track time. Oh, his broadcaster's curse strikes him a little bit. Also making a little bit of a return here is Tommy Boy. He's currently winning by 1 point in the pro class, but with potential to move up or down. Oh, probably up or stay the same. I don't foresee him dropping to amateur based on his time in the server here. Looks like he is chasing Lando up ahead. These guys had some great battles together last week in both races. We got a long 45-minute one this time with at least one pit stop from what we saw in the European races. So that'll be pretty good. Now, strategy-wise, it is going to come down to the timing of the pit as far as how much fuel you have. If these guys decide to change tires on it, you know, having to fill your car with less fuel does take up less time and cut your pit time down a little bit. So if you fill up all the way and you can drag that out, you don't necessarily need to throw a full tank in to get to the end of the race. You can shave a little time off and try and catch someone in front if you're in a close battle. And looking at the times, we're going to have some. Osh going faster than Jesus, one of our defending champions. They're just trying to see if he can get a little bit closer here, and maybe we can watch a battle happen in practice, but he's going to like to give him some space. That's how we'll interpret that move. The Lamborghini, the comic book Lamborghini, a crowd favorite there of Floaty in the 88 car, looking great going through the roller coaster. You can see, I want to say that's Rev 174 and the BMW up ahead. So on these long straights, it's going to be interesting to watch, see if the Lamborghini can pull out some extra speed. Ooh, and he takes it to the air, doing a little bit of trickery. And I'll give him style points because he did land it, although he's going to teleport back to pits. I suspect he took maybe a little bit of aero damage there. Hard to truly say. Looks like we have caught on here with Lando, so that's going to be Tommy Boy's counterpart for the moment. We are going to get the Manufacturer Cup standings rolling after this week. Looks like these guys are looking to be competitive this season and try and figure out who they need to help, who they need to defend against. So that should add some interesting dynamics after the rankings are settled this week. So today, not just for points, these guys are really going to have to focus hard. Only 20 minutes left in the practice. They'll get a nice long qualifying session, about 30 minutes there. So a lot of time to work on some things and set a time. They're going to need to see what they can do with full fuel in relation to the pace. Maybe some medium tires. I don't think we'll see anybody on hards unless Porsches decide to pull something out for the whole race. Maybe the Ferraris go a little harder on the tires. Ooh, and the Nissan struggling to make that final turn. I guess not final, close enough. Let's take a peek up at one of the Ferraris. A little bit of damage there for Miguel as he's trying to fend off, I think, that speed bump behind him. He's looking pretty good for the amount of damage that we see up front. Aero definitely comes into play a little bit with these GT3 cars. Not as strong as any of the open wheel stuff, but more so than the MX-5, which a lot of these drivers are used to. Speed bump is looking mighty quick in that number 3 Porsche. Trying to make something happen here. Looks like he's giving him a little bit of a wiggle to try and let him know he's coming as they head towards a section that the Ferrari is able to flat out a little bit more than the Lamborghini. Oh, but it turns out to be dangerous as he goes wide and into the grass. Let's take a look a little further down the board. Floaty and Fudzy, or Fudeezy, as our announcer bot friend wants to say. looking good through the horseshoe. He's carrying a decent amount of speed, currently up on his outlap, which is progress. Seems to have some trouble keeping it in the lines at the moment, though. Doesn't have a clean time as of yet. I have a dog causing chaos in the background there. Let's take a peek in with Speed Bump. Now, has he been in yet? He has not, so this is going to be his first race in Season 5. He was away last week. So strong debut so far. Finds himself, 0.3 up on the current practice pace. Peek in a little bit. One of our new racers has hit the grid sky here in the Porsche GTR. We also have Tim in the 493 Ferrari currently sitting in pits, though. We'll check it in a bit. Rev 174 in the BMW that we saw off in the distance while checking in with Floaty. So a few guys looking to make a big debut here. They got a lot of time to work on some things. They were just notified a mere, I want to say 2 to 3 hours before the event that they would be eligible to join. A few of them have been practicing throughout the week just in case, but still, that is not a lot of time to get into the mental state. They seem to be getting ready with ease. Sky is making it look easy there. As he heads towards South Bend and into the big challenge that we've seen a lot of racers going off. This is where most of these red sectors are coming in. Ooh, and we may have had another victim. I'm not sure how tight the track limits are at that specific spot. But I'm going to turn it over to the announcer booth for just a moment. Be right back. All right, we're back. Looks like we are with Floaty chasing down Tim. Ooh, and a little bit of contact there. Not sure if maybe he didn't expect Tim to break or something like that. Tim is stretching out the legs here, getting used to the track though, so looks like he's going to let these guys go through. Try and see what he could pick up from them. So that'll be Tommy Boy right behind him there. Ooh, that we make a little bit of contact with. Unfortunately, heading through the horseshoe. That'll give, I want to say, Fudzy a chance to swing through. Fudzy did a good job of matching the BMW Mafia skins that we saw. So although Speed Bump does have a 145.2, Cheezus at some point earlier in the private server was able to hit a 143.8. So it's possible these guys are all actually just practicing with race fuel, trying to get their race pace down today. But they are certainly up to the challenge. I think that's going to be Tommy Boy in the GTR behind, so it looks like he got back on track after a little collision there with Tim. Through the old oak tree. Fuzzy coming through with pace, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Tommy really closed the gap in there, and Fuzzy's going to pull aside to see if he can pick up a trick or two from the man currently sitting P4 2 seconds ahead of his counterpart. Man, it looks like the pace is kind of all over the place here. 45-minute race, so definitely hoping to see that tighten up a little bit. I have faith in them. That's all that matters. So, sorry, I'm just taking a look here at the live timings. It looks like currently everybody's setting their pace with soft tires. I don't see anybody out on mediums. Oh, we've actually got Floaty and Miguel out on mediums currently, but their fastest laps are set with soft. So definitely a couple of people starting to play around with oh, that's a nice livery. I haven't seen that, but definitely people starting to play around with race strategy and plan ahead. You have 12 minutes left of practice before we start getting into the qualifying shootout here. 30 minutes though, so it's a lot of time to still try and dial some stuff in and set a clean lap. I think qualifying might actually be slightly longer than practice, or just about the exact same time. Down the back straight with some speed. Speaking of, speed bump directly behind him, so he's going to start to feel the pressure on his debut here. Rev 174 looking real good through the hog pen. But man, that Porsche looks a little bit meaner, so we're going to back off for just a second and watch speed bump try and catch him. Makes his way down the start finish. Oh, and he crosses the line after giving us a show and calls it there. Respectable move. We're going to switch over now to the man in purple, who coming out of some broadcaster's curse. He's got the rookie badge on his car, but he is actually fighting for P3 in the amateur series today. And we'll see if he can get up a little bit further from that as the grid starts to switch up a little bit. Again, we got a lot of new racers, so we'll have to see where they fall within the grid. And I believe Hunter is representing this ribbons for Crohn's disease, as we clarified on one of our previous broadcasts there. There are a few meanings to the badge, but we are representing Crohn's. I want to see if I can see in there. That's a little bit fuzzy on the stream there, but we'll get some detail at some point. Without my co-host today, Jawa, he had a little bit of power issues. Everything is all right, but he just won't be able to join us today. We do have a special broadcast this Sunday coming up for the endurance event. It's going to be 4 hours at Felberg Ring, where our broadcaster Jawa will actually be taking part, soloing the Radical throughout the whole thing. And I will be joined by Mo Powers, who many of you will be familiar with, one of the creators of Real Rookie Racing, as we bring you all the action live. But first, we have to make it through today's event. So 16 racers now have at least hit the track. Let me take a look at the live timings. Nope, that's going to be 16 racers all together. Actually 17, because it looks like Floaty has disconnected, so a little hard to count sometimes. So there is someone who hasn't joined the grid just yet. Who has not gone out? Bullet, Boat, Buggy. They do all appear. Huh, interesting. Oh, never mind. I can't do math. I see where I went wrong. But speaking of going wrong, Jesus actually just hit a purple sector 1 and is going through with some pace now down the back straight. losing a little bit of speed from his personal best, as I'm guessing he had some sort of a tow. He's losing quite a lot of time now as he tries to catch up to Bullet in front, hoping maybe for a tow down the front straight next time around. Swinging through the roller coaster into Hog Pen. Oh, never mind. There you go. Ooh, and a little wiggle there as he pulls past Bullet and into the pits. Does pull in safely. Oh, let's see if we can grab onto Bullet there. Yep, we do. Oh, as he spins out with a little bit of style. Is he going for the recovery? I don't believe so. Let's take a look at our other new joiner. That would be Tim as he heads back to the pits as well. Let's check in with Patchy. That number 93 car. So his livery actually looks pretty similar to the BMW one there. So I would almost say that him and Rev are looking like teammates to a certain degree. That black Lamborghini swinging by behind him is going to be Boat, swinging by with quite some speed in the matte black. 6 minutes remaining here. Starting to see a little bit of separation as Jesus has now put a second between himself and Speed Bump. Speed Bump, though, I'm not sure if he's been testing quali setups and everything just yet. Needs to be a big gap, though, between the man up front and the rest of the grid. However, there's definitely some groupings starting to form. And plenty of time left. We do have many members who are notorious for joining with only a few minutes remaining in qual. Ooh, as Patchy, I believe, goes off. Might be still within the limits, though, as he's pounding down the track. Going to sneak over, though, to the matte black Lamborghini that shot in front of him as he goes through the horseshoe. Boat looking pretty good today. Hasn't set a time just yet, but every little glimpse I've seen on the live timing shows that he's making some progress. Would not be surprised if we see him at some point. I'm going to try and fit as many names as I can in the live timings. Looks like I'll be able to keep track of at least the top 14 right now. Seeing a lot of green sectors in the, we'll say, position 9 and down. So, looking pretty good. Although, it does seem like a few racers have put up decent laps during some of the private practice, according to the live timings. That doesn't fully match up with what we have going on here on our broadcast standings. Carrying through with some speed through Oak Tree. Boat whipping down the back straight. Forgive me for a second. It's bugging me a little bit. There you go. So, got Boat whipping through the hog pen now. We've been sticking with the matte black Lamborghini for some time. Looks like he might have a chance to set a lap here. I don't know if it was a clean one, but we'll find out in just a moment's time. And it was, as he sings a 2:29 onto the board. Definitely needs to shave some, shave a good chunk off along the way here. Let's check in with Osh, El Garrido the Great. Currently trying to be a menace to the purple BMW of Hunter up front. Saw a little bit of a lag spike there from one of the vehicles in the pit lane. Not sure exactly who it was, but hopefully it's not something that's a consistent issue. You see a few more big names joining into the server. I think we saw Dapper just join. Project Purple's in. Christian Crafton is in. So a couple of guys who've been around for quite some time, looking to continue their tradition of season after season competition. Now, Tommy Boy is one racer who was able to actually win a season without winning an entire race. I know we brought that one up before. I forget exactly which season it was, but he came in no more than second place, but it was consistently top 3 throughout the whole season. And I think he threw a couple of fastest laps in there as well, and that consistency was key. He ended up winning by a few points, but he did win the overall war. So one thing to consider when we're watching these races, there's anything can happen in the grand scheme of things. So that's why you're going to want to keep your eye on the scroll bar up top and try and remember who's in the fight for the big picture here and also who they're fighting against. So currently Tommy Boy does need to do well as he's defending his lead from everybody, but most importantly, he needs to stay ahead of Botlando, Seb, and Project Purple, all of which he seems to be doing pretty good considering one of those racers aren't even here currently. We also have Fudzy defending his lead, but mostly just needs to stay in front of Big Dean Energy, as there's a forgiving amount of points difference between him, between them, Dean, Slay, and Hunter. We're shifting more towards the gender neutral lingo if we can here on the stream. As our community grows, we're starting to get racers from all around the world, and we want to make sure everyone's represented properly. So why specify? Chris Craft in here looking pretty good. Ooh, as he kicks the back out. I know it's not necessarily a faster line when you do that, but man, does it look great. A lot of hesitation heading into the snake there. I think that's going to cost a little bit of time compared to some of the other ones we've seen. But I don't think it matters because at the end of the day, look at this livery. Just that beautiful ombre, faded, stripy gorgeousness. There's just something about it. It reminds me of the old Need for Speed games. I don't know why, but it seems like something I would have like put on a car in Most Wanted or Underground. And I respect that. Trying to look around for some names we haven't checked in on yet. I think we haven't checked in with Big Dean as he's trying to fend off Scythe behind him. 2 seconds separating their lap times as far as the personal best go. And Dino is on an outlap, so they'll be letting Scythe go by. And it looks like Floaty's having some throttle issues. They are trying to power through it, but they've got a 157 currently. And I know we've seen them capable of competing alongside Fudzy up in P8. So I'm going to assume that they're still trying to work out some of the kinks as we start our way through overtime. A couple of racers still battling it out here. I think just mostly for the fun of it. As Dino heads into the roller coaster and down towards the hog pen, and I don't think he'll be catching Scythe before we get there. Before we get around the grid, and I spoke too soon as Scythe has a little bit of a spin. Dean on an outlap though, not going to matter as they won't be getting any special times in now. Jesus is not on any hot lap, neither is Speed Bump. Tommy Boy certainly not, but looks like Dapper, the man in P12, has got a strong chance. He's got Hunter in front of him. We're catching a lot of airtime today on the broadcast. Scythe looking pretty good, but not up on their time. Hunter, I'm not sure if still in a valid lap, but they do seem to be hauling through with some speed, and they're at least up on their delta. So you know what? We'll take what we can get. losing a lot of time through the oak tree, and it looks like that acceleration is gone into the back straight. They'll be on the back foot playing a little bit of catch up once they hit the roller coaster. We're going to pause for just a second to take a look at some of the other racers on the grid. And I don't see anybody else looking like they'll have an opportunity. So it's going to all come down to Hunter. Can we get one extra lap across the line? Staying in the green, so it's definitely found a little bit more time in the line. In the racing line, that is. And they'll be, looks like, moving up with a little bit more speed, so they will set a new fastest lap. Won't be moving up in the standings, but a little bit of improvement always feels good before the final curtain. So that is going to wrap up our practice session. Looks like we've got a lot of people entering in, some talks of setups per usual. And we will have a grid of 20 racers heading into the qualifying session. And we'll see where it goes from there. Got a ton of racers muted in the chat there. That usually means that they are all dialing in, trying to focus to the best of their ability. They do have a little bit of a wait period here, so I'm going to pop out for one moment. All right, we are back there. Let me double check that we got all this stuff going. All right, so everybody's heading out. As you heard, 2 km/h wind, so nothing too crazy to kick things off. Boat starting us off, though. He's going to be kicking it out in the Lamborghini to try and get us going. Ooh, and it looks a lot faster from here. Boat with some beautiful acceleration. It heads towards the old oak tree. I don't know why, but we'll just have to say it like that. Just seems right. Does have the fastest first sector, as he was the first one out into that sector. We do see a little bit of bunching up. It is a long half-hour qualifying session, so they'll have plenty of time to kind of dial things in and focus up. I know we like to do some of the pre-race interviews, but these guys lately have been trying to really dial in. I think there's been a bit more of a competitive spirit as these guys have been racing together for quite some time. So they're starting to get a sense of who they should be beating and who they want to be beating. And I think we're starting to see that flesh out on the grid. And with all these new racers joining, that causes for extra excitement as they can slot their way in between these guys who have been considering themselves direct rivals for quite some time. So they'll keep things interesting for us as they all start to cross the line into clean sessions. I don't think we've checked in on Project Purple yet. I just want to take another look in. This is one of, again, my favorite custom liveries that we've seen. Looks like they are currently representing all of the wins that they've had in their time here on Real Rookie Racing. Particular good luck at Interlagos, it seems, and a few other noticeable spots. And we're going to let that one go as we swing on to one of our new racers, Rev 174. So they are in the yellow BMW here today. Going to be something I'm trying to keep tabs on. I'll be more familiar with the liveries as we go on through the season. But we're starting to get a good enough sense to call some of this out on the fly. Yes, indeed they are. 25.5 seconds is quite a nice jump, so that's already putting them into the 50s. Now they've got to find another 5 seconds down this back straight and through the roller coaster to get into that competitive zone. But who's to say that it's not possible? A little bit of a slower entrance than we've typically seen from some of these racers. It does cost them a tenth or two, but gives them a better exit toward the hog pen, where they seem to have gained quite a bit of time. So making improvements. It's going to put their first real time across the board. We're going to say 49 maybe. 49.72. Nothing to sneeze at by any means, as that's starting to put them closer and closer to the pace. We see Jesus out on a push lap, but down a little bit, so we'll check back in on a later lap. Lando seems to be on an out lap, so we'll let them go. I think Tommy Boy just finished a lap. We'll check in a little bit. Apache, on the other hand, sitting 5th place with a 148.7. We'll see how he fares all the way through. Looks like the Christian C are calling each other out. We were just complimenting Christian's livery. This has got to be one of my favorites. I know I was just talking about Projects as one of my favorites. Oh, all right, that's Chris's fault. Chris cursed him. That's not broadcaster's curse. I take responsibility for a lot of these, but not that one. But Christian getting back on the track here, but these little shades of green is what really brings this livery together. Beautiful ombres. I think I just like saying that word, but it's true. He's got the shopping list in front of him. Hunter going a bit wide through the NASCAR bend, taking it on a NASCAR line. So, might be the more appropriate way to go about the business here. Track time slowly increasing as we're into 21 degrees now. It really does take kind of perfect situation to get these laps in, as it's a big grid, so they spread out pretty quickly. I think we're at 20 racers, it looks like. Still moving around. We got a long time, though. Wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 joining. Floaty, a 149.3, so almost 10 seconds faster than what we saw during qualifying. And I believe that's much closer, or if not slightly better, than what we saw from Fudzy's their practice session. So puts them back into competition. I don't think they're in the same class, but they were racing near each other. They just suffered different fortunes throughout the race, as those reverse grids do come into play sometimes. Just a moment here. Just gonna send out a little FIA message. he sent out a little friendly message. We'll give Christian some time to do what they gotta do. But basically just letting everybody know to use a little bit of caution when coming out of the pits. Jesus not currently out of hot lap, so we're going to bounce around a little bit. Actually, let's bounce over to speed bump. Hasn't set a real time yet. Still has plenty of time to do it, but let's see what they put up now. 1:45.4. So not too far off from where they were in practice, but still has some room to go. They can catch up to Osh in front, I believe, as they head back to the pits to dial in a thing or two. Looks like we're going to sit with Osh as he makes small improvements here in his quest to cast Cheez-Its. We're going to bounce to someone else. It looks like Tommy Boy. Okay, currently at the beginning of a lap, so he's still got a chance to make something happen. 1:45.5 from the GTR, sitting about a second ahead of Bot Lando. Ooh, and Tommy Boy looking good through Oak Tree as he finds a little bit more time. He's got to hang on to this pace here. That 0.2 seconds is actually going to carry him up into P3. And if he can find a little bit more speed through Roller Coaster, he'll be golden. The 90 car looking good as we head through the end of the back straight here. It's going to head through with quite a decent amount of speed. Loses the delta for a second, but makes up a lot of that time on the exit. Not all of it, though, so I'll have to make something happen in Hog Pen. And he doesn't. He loses actually quite a bit more time there. Won't be able to make a hot lap happen. So two phenomenal sectors. It wiped away just by the last couple turns there. That is how close this grid is getting as far as qualifying times. It's only a turn or two's difference. We'll peek in now with Tim in the green Ferrari. 4:93 is their current time. Swinging through the left hook. That's an excellent name for that. And working towards the snake straight, if you will. Man, listen to that Ferrari open up. You can tell that he was being reserved on the first couple turns there, but he's really starting to push. Found a second on his time already. And it looks like he uses a little bit more caution than most of our drivers, but also dives in late on the brakes, so it's a bit of a give and take there. I do wonder if he was able to snag a setup from one of our other Ferrari drivers up further along in the grid. I think actually Big Dean Energy might be one of the furthest up in at the moment. I'm looking through the first Ferrari is indeed Big Dean Energy, so not a strong show out for them in qualifying just yet. 18 minutes to remain, so they can make something happen. Oof, that's beautiful sound. Peek in now with Miguel Cicerone in the scarlet red Ferrari. It's not the scarlet Ferrari, which had a great turnout last weekend at Monza. Shout out Leclerc. I am a McLaren fan, but you gotta respect it. So finding a little bit of pace through the horseshoe as they begin quite a nice start to a hot lap, sorry. They're really toying with their delta here, so you can tell they've switched up their line a little bit since their last hot lap, but ooh, I spoke a little too soon. I was going to say they're starting to find some decent time in the new line. Still possible, but they're going to have to circle back to it. I keep trying to check in at some of our racers who haven't set full times yet. We see Fadizi has been struggling somewhere to keep it fully on the track. But see their delta and see if we can figure out where that turn is. Currently at 2:37.6 as their fastest in qualifying. But definitely something going on there. So it looks like we're going to be shy 9 of racers on the grid today, as we head into the final 17 minutes of qual. Would be nice to get a full 29-man grid. Ooh, and Fudzy falls off. Not sure if there was a fuel issue or what we ended up seeing there, but we'll check in with Scythe in the Duckham's Porsche, looking to avoid the same mistake in South Bend, and does so rather flawlessly. They are on an outlap, so we might pop over to watch some of the other racers for a moment. Anemonism looking pretty strong in the R8, the number 1 R8. And it looks like one of only 2 number 1s on the grid. I think the other one is also an R8, Bullet. I'm correct. Let me see. Yes, indeed. So we have 2 number 1 R8s there. Looks like the team couldn't settle during the debrief. Boat shooting up pretty far there in the Lamborghini with a 145.1. Still a little ways off of Cheese's pace, but now making the rest of the pack sweat a little bit as a new contender has entered the chat. Looks like between P2 and P6, we're going to see quite the battle, as they're all within about half a second of each other. Project Purple not far behind, but could find themselves in no man's land. And then Dapper and Patchy looking to be lapping pretty close together, as well as Rev and Big Dean Energy. And then a nice little pack between P12 down to P14. And a little bit more of no man's land. So right now, with a 45-minute race, there's definitely going to be some gaps, even though those times look pretty close together, if they can stay consistent. And that is always the big if. Speaking of big, a weather change just occurred, so we now have 23-degree track temps, getting a little bit warmer, and 7-kilometer-an-hour wind. Doesn't particularly help them in any direction, but does slightly hurt them in the back straight. Emphasis on slightly, as I'm not even positive it'll be enough to really register. We're going to check in with Speed Bump, currently sitting at a 145.4. Needs to push hard, not just this lap, but in general. For some reason, we are not seeing a performance delta kick in just yet. Could be on an outlap. Oh yeah, it looks like just disconnected and came back. So Speed Bump is going to be on an outlap. Tommy Boy is going to be down on their delta currently. We're going to just bounce around a little bit and see. Looks like Dapper just starting a lap, but at least he or they's up on their time. We see Rev 174 up in front. So Dapper flashing his lights to let him know that he's looking to get by. He's on a hot lap. He is way up on his time, and he is going to have to slow down a little bit. Let's check in. Rev not on a hot lap, but still within the chance of catching some time. Looks like we've got a little bit of traffic there, as well as I think that's going to be Bullet in the black number 1 Audi. Man, these guys are getting real close together, and that's going to be the difference in the pace there. Dapper sitting up at a 147, Rev a 148, and Dapper was on quite a heater. So I think if Dapper can get out in open space, still 12 minutes remaining, you can probably make something happen, maybe even claw his way into the top 5. Speaking of the top 5, we see Osh momentarily backing out. Let's check in with the cartoon Ferrari. Or sorry, Lamborghini. Floaty though in the number 88 car, making the unicorns fly on an outlap. Chose a good time to pop in. We'll be able to really see what they can do here. Ooh, as they come flying past the Duckham's Porsche of Scythe. So a little bit of a friendly battle here as Scythe is not too far off, only 2 seconds away. Going to be on an outlap, so won't be pushing too hard, but will have someone to follow to try and make improvements in the final few minutes. Ooh, and follow they did. Just maybe a little bit too well as they mirrored the driving all the way off into the grass. You have our late joiner of the evening. This one's going to be Todd Moonbound to the number 28 Lamborghini. Lamborghini's doing pretty good. We've got Boat in second position. We've got Todd just joining now, so we'll see where they end up. And we've got Floaty sitting P14, looking to make some improvements there. I gotta say, the Lamborghinis do seem to have a nice variety of livery there, and I'm a big fan of the ones we do have. So Todd showing a 152, 10 minutes remaining as they work towards catching Botlando in the GTR in front. We'll sneak over to another crowd favorite, Christian Crafton. Did not have to put a number, as we'll call it, the Ombre Porsche. So 7.378 off our current pole time, as Jesus sitting with a 1:43.997. So getting closer and closer to the times we saw during the private practice sessions. Whipping through South Bend, Christian Crafton moving with some speed. Ooh, as they swing the rear out a little bit in Oak Tree. Not enough to squeal the tires, though, as they maintain the grip and head on down the back straight. This is going to be an outlap, so they're not going to make any improvements just yet. We'll take a real quick peek, though, around the board, see if any of these top contenders are looking to put up some competition. I don't see anything crazy other than Dapper looks like finally might have a chance. This time going to be speed bump in front, so I don't think they'll have to worry as much about the competition, or rather the traffic. This might be one of the first clean laps we see from the number 6 Audi as they head into the back straight. Currently green sector 1. With this pace, I would imagine we're going to see a green sector 2 go up in just a moment's time. Yes, we do, as they head into the roller coaster with no traffic. So again, they'll have another chance to pick up a little bit of time here. Ooh, and it looks like they had a much cleaner run through roller coaster on their current personal best. So they'll have to find that time once more, which they do into the final turn. So a little bit of an improvement. Won't be enough to get into P7 even, I don't think. Ooh, and just shy of the 46, but shows that Dapper is here to be competitive and is going to make the most of these final 8 minutes. Looks like a few more applicants for the GT3 waitlist. Ooh, as we get a little slither through the snake. Man, the Audi is looking pretty good. We've been sticking with Dapper for a little while, though. Let's check back in, see if Christian is on a hot lap, and they are, so they're going to come around with a little bit more on the pace. And will it be enough to jump Hunter? It looks like they may have gone off somewhere, and that is the downside to not catching the entire lap. We do have a nice battle shaking up between Boat and Osh, as both racers very near each other in time. Osh looks like is on an out lap, Drill just entering a hot lap, and that's actually going to be the Lamborghini in front of him, isn't it? It is. Okay, so let's switch back over to Osh, and we'll take a peek from his perspective so we can try and grab both of these guys. We'll watch as they swing through Horseshoe together. I think that's going to be Big Dean Energy in the black Ferrari in front of them. And that's actually going to slow down Boat a little bit, whether he intends to or not. We're not going to get a great judge of Delta until a couple more laps get put in here. Osh is just now rejoining. And through Oak Tree. He's got some pace. Oh, Boat's going to be able to use this toe pretty nicely to his advantage. Will it be enough to break into the 44s finally? That's definitely going to give him a nice little slingshot. Puts himself neatly in front of Dean. Do they have similar enough braking points to where both racers are going to get a decent lap out? Dean looks like it goes a little bit deeper into the turn. El Garrido is on one hell of a heater, it seems, because they are flashing like crazy, letting them know they are coming. Ooh, and just a little bit of contact there does kill the whole drive right through the final turn. I'm sure they won't be pleased with that, but a good pace so far. I think Boat got caught up in the mix as well. That is the one danger to flashing the lights, is you can distract the man up front a little bit, and sometimes they start to lose their grip due to a lapse in concentration. Checking the rears to make sure you're not too close, things like that. Take a peek at the man across the pond. Oop, Patchy in P9 with a 147.2. We'll say Patchy's got quite the pace. Was this livery that Patchy signed up with? I feel like it was. I don't know, sometimes the liveries get messed up when we do the late entrance thing. But regardless, he's making this one look good, whether it's intentional or not, as they head on through the snake. Not with enough speed to be on an outlap. Now we're heading into the final few minutes of qualifying. Let's start to take a peek around, see where the competition is. Boat finds a little bit of time here. Oop, didn't mean to do that. Into the final turn, but with no toe, they're not going to be able to keep up the speed and get the hot lap there. Speed bump, just shy of a hot lap on this go. Project Purple not looking close enough. Patchy still has a little bit of a chance depending on how they handle the roller coaster and the hot pen, so we'll stay right on the back straight. As he does find a little bit of time in the roller coaster and a little bit of pace through the exit. I don't know if he'll be able to find anything in Hog's Pen to make up for the rest. Possibly enough to at least get back into the green. No, it's going to be just shy. So sticking with P9 for a little bit longer. Let's check in with Anemonism in the red on an outlap. Same with Fudzy, Bullet, Todd, Moonbounce, not on an outlap, but not finding any more pace on that one. So this is going to be interesting. We got a lot of racers here competing, but as the track starts to heat up, and I think these guys are starting to practice more full fuel setups and stuff, we're not going to see any crazy times go live. Give me just a moment here. Ayash thinks they don't have their livery. Which one is that? El Garito. El Garito is currently in a, looks like stock one. And we'll take a peek at the signups here. I did think they had a different one, but I can't remember. Now they don't. I will have to take a peek at some of this stuff after. Downsides of no co-host. And just checking in on some of the chat on everything there, but it looks like everybody's still relatively getting along, at least enough to make it through another lovely day here. 37 seconds remaining. Boat has currently been out for a minute straight, so they are not going to be able to make it around for one more lap, although the overtime could get them there. I don't know if Boat left and rejoined, but if they didn't, this is one hell of a lap. We've seen them lose it all on the final two turns, though. I'm not sure where they found that line the first time around, but they need to figure that out again through the hog pen. All of this looks good, but it could be for naught. Let's see what happens here. Oh, there it is. That's the pace that they needed right on the final turn, and that's going to put them into the 44s as long as this was a clean one. And it was an excellent way to end the qualifying session for Boat. Speed bump coming across the line with potentially massive improvements as well. Could be right into the 44s. Just shy of it, but enough to get P3. We do see Patchy on the beginning. He will be our final racer, I think, to make an attempt. So we'll stick with him and see if he finds any last minute time. Now we see a lot of different talk about strat going on. Thinking as far as tires, fuel, the whole nine in the chat. Again, I would go as heavy as possible and then real light for a short, sweet pit stop. Just shave off that extra second. But that's only if you can hold the grip on your tires to match that pace. Oop. And Patchy comes to a complete stop there. I think realized they were not going to quite have the pace there. 21 racers all coming across the line. Boat with a purple sector 3 to end it, so that shows that Jesus does have a few areas that he's got to be concerned about. I think some of these guys have quite the potential. Jesus is just the one stringing the line together, all in all. But we'll see who can come up with something for him here in the race itself. So we're entering, I believe now, the overtime wait session, so 90 seconds until the official 60-second countdown. This is where these guys are going to want to dial in those final setup options as far as the fuel stop strategies and such. Now, we have seen before some of these guys forget to set them or forget to select them, like they set them on the second box and they forget to select that one. So hopefully we don't have any mishaps today. Checking in with Patchy. All right, so we're going to be getting close here to the start of the race. Looks like everybody's kind of planning still. I do see some last minute chat going on, fuel, the whole nine. Definitely glad we got rid of the read the chat out loud feature. So just to give you guys a rundown, in the rookie class, Chris C., Brendan Diaz, and Bullet lead the way with 19, 18, and 10 points respectively. Todd Moonbounce with 7, Miguel Cicerone with 7. In the amateur class, we got Fudzy with 21, Big Dean with 19, Slay with 14, and Hunter tied at 14. Slay is not here today, so I'll give Hunter a bit of an advantage. Anemonism right behind them with 13, and Christian right behind them with 11 as well. In the pro class, Tommy Boy with 18, Botlando with 17, Seb with 16, tied with Project Purple, and Patchy with 14, Floaty with 10, and then expert class, we've got Boat and Jesus at 21 and 17. Wyatt, who is not here today, with 10. So looks like I may have accidentally moved this. Hang on here. Got that. And let's get the cam up and running. So 45 minutes today. Got a nice full grid. Currently only seeing 20 racers on. Not sure who it is we lost at the end. But could just be not showing for the moment. But 20 racers on the grid there. It looks like we got guys starting to curve around the bed. Ooh, a false start from Speed Bump, as he's going to cause a little bit of chaos right off the bat. He does. So this grid bunches up very early on as we head into a sharp turn one. We've got racers already on the grass, tons of different lines, racers trying to slide into each other, and we go bowling. The start of the 45-minute race is a rough one as a lot of our leaders get caught up here in this parking lot jam. The two Ferraris now taking up the back, Tim and Miguel Cesaron. And who came out in front? Looks like it's going to be El Garrido the Great, also known as Osh, with Botlando in the GTR trying to catch up behind him. Project Purple, Dapper, Floaty, and Patchy in a little pack of their own. Not too far behind. Try and catch on for just a moment and see what these guys got going on. As we head closer and closer to the old oak tree, you can see a full line going now. A little bit of contact there, it seems like, between Tim and Speed Bump. Speed Bump ends up disconnecting, as I think it's possible that there's a little bit of awkward braking points heading in towards the snake. Jesus has a little bit of contact there with Big Dean Energy, but they are able to keep on moving. Let's try and get in with this pack. I think it's going to be Boat that's sitting right in front. Yep. So we'll be able to watch and see how this shakes up. Tommy Boy and Jesus looking to cut their way through. It's a very long race, a lot of time to make ways back. Oh, and the leaders are facing each other too hard as we see them all going off wide in the back there. Todd Moonbounce, I think, getting caught up in the spins. As Hunter goes wide, Boat weaves through him and the floaty in front, making their way up into 7th position. Bot Lando and Osh really starting to make their way into no man's land. And the speed of that Lamborghini making it look like they don't have a chance, frankly, as Boat is ripping through the grid. He does still need to make his way through before being able to really compete. Looks like we've got one pit already from the green Ferrari. We've got Christian C going off a little bit wide. We have some side-by-side racing, as I think that's going to be Bullet, yep, trying to make their way past the Scarlet Ferrari, who's found their way up into P11 following a little bit of other racers' misfortune. Floaty, with the speed of that Lamborghini, goes ripping past Hunter as well. Man, these Lamborghinis plus 2 long straights is a dangerous combo, and they are making it look easy. Boat now finds his way past Dapper into the oak tree, and the speed once more will help him on the way out, as that Audi's going to be trying to stick within his draft. Tommy Boy leading a little pack of his own back here. We'll try and catch a glimpse as Bullet stands between him and Jesus. Jesus got that draft, though. We'll see if he goes for a slingshot move or if he's patient. This is where he had a little run-in with Tom earlier. Just to give you guys an update, we've got 24-degree track temps, and it is a full-on tailwind down that back straight, so that's going to help them a lot, but a nice headwind through the snakes and the front straight in general, leading right up into that south bend. Ooh, a little bit of trouble for Miguel through Hog Pen. He's going to try and re-enter on the fly. We see Jesus with a little bit of trouble. Don't see any collision, but speaking of collision, we do have Floaty and Anemonism. I think we just saw Tommy Boy go racing by with some contact there. It is a very long race. These guys have plenty of time and plenty of opportunities to make all of this up. We're going to just take a peek at the leaders quick before we swing back to see a couple passing opportunities. Speaking of, looks like Anemonism finds a way past Bullet. I'm not sure what ended up happening with them, but we do see Miguel and Floaty fighting for a little side-by-side action right behind. Floaty was able to pull through. Ferrari's pretty quick, though, too. He's not going to be able to pull away like he usually does. They'll have to employ some other tactics as they make their way further along the track. Heading their way through South Bend, he takes a little bit of a breaking point that Miguel was not expecting. Miguel goes flying into his rear end as we also catch, I believe that's Todd Moonbounce going off track, going for a re-entry, does manage to avoid Bullet, but cuts it in a little bit close. Bullet goes onto the grass, though, so both these guys are struggling a little bit. The speed of that Lamborghini should give Todd a fighting chance before they hit the roller coaster. But let's take a peek up north where we've got Boat getting chased down by Dapper still in the Lamborghini. Looks like Tommy Boy has made his way through into P7. I'm not entirely sure what happened to Botlando, but Botlando now finds himself right here in P6. So caught up in the action, was holding pace with Osh very well. Osh now finds himself pretty far ahead. Boat's got, I want to say, about 16 seconds. I'm trying to do that quick. Oh, I'm way off. I think it's like 13, 14 seconds to Osh up front. So let's take a look at their lap times. Boat currently has a best of 148. Osh with a 147. That Warden 47 actually puts him at a pace where nobody's going to be catching him anytime soon if he can keep that up. Do you see Lando possibly looking for an opportunity on Dapper behind? We'll see if we can grab it. Ooh, there we go. Everybody takes a little bit of a different braking point through South Bend, so that's part of where these issues are coming into play. They didn't really practice going side by side, which is okay. It certainly happens. Dapper lost the position to Lando, but looking for a way to get it back. I think Hunter had a little bit of an off-track incident as Cheezus and Floaty are able to make their way through. Hunter in the Z4 as well, though, going to be able to match the top speed, hopefully, of the man in front. And number 19 car from Germany. Things are starting to separate a little bit, other than Patchy and Project Purple. Patchy now moving into P2, going to start to try and chase down Osh up ahead. He ended up 0.5 seconds ahead of Osh on that lap. So definitely has the pace to start to chip into that lead. Obviously, there's a lot of racing left. Anything can happen. So we'll see what no man's land does to the patience and confidence of the number 910 up front. We'll check in with El Garrido, though. He is moving along with some speed. And really just making it look easy as he takes his time. You can see he's a little up on his delta as he knows he doesn't need to be necessarily putting up his best laps. Just needs to be consistent enough to keep the others at bay. And it looks like he's at least matching his entrances into the long straights, so he's keeping his time consistent enough where it really matters. And we'll take a peek once he heads through roller coasters here to see just how far the rest of the grid is. So there he goes. And a nice healthy gap behind before we see Patchy. And then Boat, who must have just taken Project Purple as well. So we do have two racers actually really gunning for it here. Definitely putting the pedal to the metal. I think Christian Crafton has a little bit of competition from the man from Germany. He sees Cheezus coming from alongside him now. I was going to say behind him, but he made that move before I could even describe it happening. So through the hog pen, Cheezus goes through. I think Christian knows that's not who his battle is with, as he focuses on maintaining the pace. He's got a nice gap to the men behind. We do see Tim in the 493 Ferrari still in the pits. He does need to get back out at some point, or they'll lose their opportunity to get points for the evening and make their way onto the leaderboard. Tommy Boy, though, starting to put a little bit of pressure on Dapper in P6. These guys usually end up in similar classes. And I know Tommy Boy definitely sees that little flash of orange out in the distance. In fact, let's take a look over at Tommy Boy's perspective. Oh, you can definitely see that flash of orange along with a few other cars. So that's going to be some solid motivation to keep on the pedal. As he makes a little bit of headway through the oak tree. And solidly down that straight. Lando keeping the pressure on Project Purple. Purple's just been slowly dropping a little bit down the grid here. They are in the Audi, so maybe it's not this car's finest day, although the Audi of Dapper is slowly closing in as well, so we'll see what they can make do. We are getting a nice little pack for him here, though. Only took 10 minutes to get some solid racing going, but these guys are starting it up. I know neither Audi is really going to want to give each other a position, but at the end of the day, there's a Manufacturers Cup going on, and they're stuck between two GTRs. Rather than one of them go by both of you, I think you guys should, or they want to think about letting one one of them decide who's going to take on the GTR in front. But it looks like they can't make that decision, and Tommy will inch closer and closer as they head towards the NASCAR bend, with Dapper taking the NASCAR line, and it cost him. Into the wall he goes. That's going to be a significant chunk of time in there. Now finding himself 2.6 seconds behind Tommy Boy, and opening up Tommy Boy to the pass if he can. Cheeses with a purple sector 2 on his last lap, a 146.4. I think that's going to be the fastest lap of the evening so far. Definitely on the pace to make moves to the men up front. Patchy 11 seconds back from Osh now. So either a little bit of a spin or busy in this fight with the Lamborghini behind. That is definitely closing in. Hard to decide which battle to watch, though. Project Purple trying to hold on to P5. Looks like we will have another car pitting. That's going to be Bullet. Oh, or might have been suffered from a spin as they head back out onto the track. Big D Energy, though, going to be looking for a move on Todd Moonbounce. This is going to be a tricky one, as both of these cars are very fast down the straightaway, and there's not too many lines through the snake. Dean does happen to know that, and I think he's hoping for a mistake through South Bend, which he finds. These guys get a little bit of rubbing as racing going, but no real contact as they head into Oak Tree relatively clean. And Big Dean Energy is able to pull off the pass, but now has to put the pedal down as that Lamborghini is quick. I think the Ferrari's got some good pace, but that Lamborghini can top out a little faster. And with that draft, it's certainly helping. So Todd going to line themselves up for the outside. Ooh, and actually goes for a late enough break to move through on the roller coaster. Dean is going to have to seat behind him for a moment and try and think about lining something up for Hogpen, but the grass gives him other ideas, as he'll have to try and set up another move on these next few turns. Just to check in, Hunter did seem to have a little bit of a spin or take a different line there as Fuzzy finds their way through and now sits 0.5 seconds or a full second away, with the BMW of Rev closing in behind. It's Speaking of closing in, we see Tommy Boy thinking about it as he's already in the bumper of that Audi. Is this going to be the straightaway where he finally makes something happen? Into the roller coaster they go. Tommy Boy gets ahead before the braking point, but does he go in too deep? Ooh, has to make a recovery move, and he gets spun out, unfortunately. Not too much that Project could do. Was heavy on his brakes and just was not able to avoid the contact there. So Tommy Boy now back in P8. Looks like Project Purple pulls back a little bit to... I think maybe Project Purple had a spin as well. Interesting. It's possible that Project Purple did end up spinning out in that. A little bit of rubbing going on here between Cheeses and Dapper. But anyway, Project Purple finds themselves in P8 behind Tommy Boy, 9 seconds off. So hopefully they'll get back into the action as well. Patchy and Botlando still fighting it out. Botlando ahead of Patchy by a small margin. And seems Boat was able to make it through. So Patchy may have had some sort of spin on one of these previous laps, as Cheeses has one hell of an entrance into the snake and finds himself now 0.7 seconds away from the close battle we were just watching. Speaking of close battles, it looks like Patchy's trying to make a little bit of action happen here. Into the back straight, he's going to find himself just at the edge of drafting distance. Now that GTR is a little bit quicker on the straightaway, but the Porsche can make some moves out of the turn. So hopefully between the roller coaster and the hog pen, Patchy will find a little bit of time to give us some action. Did we see... Jesus disqualify? Cheese's disconnect. I'm very confused there. It looks like Cheese's may have disconnected from the race. I'm not entirely positive. And same with speed bump there. Very confused. We're going to check in with that if we can, see if we can get any type of message. It didn't look like there was any type of contact or anything before that happened. I couldn't tell, but definitely confirms on the server Cheese is disconnected from the race. We'll see if they rejoin, but that takes a little bit of pressure off of that lead pack there as he was starting to carve his way through. They're now going to be able to focus on their individual battles. Now, Tommy Boy and Dapper do have the pace to be competitive, but with this point in the gap, they're going to have to go for some sort of alternative pit strategy. And I'm not talking just an undercut. I'm talking something severely different than the rest of the grid to make up that time. Patchy does find themselves a little bit further away from Bot Lando, and Boat slowly carving away at the lead of Osh the Great up ahead. So let's take a look from the back of the grid. We do have Tim back out on the track. They are a little bit further away from the main grouping. Getting blue flag currently by Floaty. But they are at least still out. We'll see what they do as Floaty finds himself alongside. Going through the back straight here. And whether it was intentional or not, Tim does allow the Lamborghini to roll on through into the roller coaster and gives him the position. Well, I guess not the position, but the spot on the track. Going into the horseshoe there, Dapper and Tommy Boy battling it out now. Tommy Boy did find the space, it seems. So we're going to let him continue that, as it seems Lando and Patchy have entered another phase of their battle. Patchy now just finding a move as Lando made a bit of a mistake out of NASCAR Bend. "25 minutes remain." A little over that. But we haven't seen anybody pit yet, I don't believe. Or at least none of the top 12 racers, which is what I can currently see on my leaderboard. It is surprising, I will say. We are 20 minutes into the race, and if you look around, we've got Boat moving in on Osh, so a little bit of action forming there. Patchy and Lando trading places multiple times in the last couple laps here. And Tommy Boy slowly trying to make some moves behind them. I think we broadcast cursed Patchy there, and I am sorry. Dapper has been creeping up to Tommy Boy and staying within at least a 2-second range. Got down the grid. We got Fudzy looking within a 2-second range of Rev. Anemonism actually creeping closer and closer to this BMW of Hunter into Oak Tree, with our man Christian Crafton actually right behind him as well. So let's hang out with the Porsche behind, as we got a little bit of a pack forming slowly in the battle for P11. Down the back straight right now, currently at 260 kilometers an hour, just shy of 270, as he brings onto the brakes into the roller coaster. Some good consistency starting to form up here. If he can inch his way a little bit closer to the action, he'll be right in the battle in no time. Looks like Tim is going to be pretty close. Ooh, a spin by Fudzy as he goes nearly into the pits. Is he going to use it as a sign to just take his pit now? It seems so, as they go through. 23 minutes remaining, so you might as well just adjust the fuel and use this as your strategy so you don't use too much time. Hunter able to move around Anemonism, it seems. Actually, that might be the Scarlet Ferrari up front. We haven't seen in a while of Miguel Cizeron. Actually, it's not. We've got a few different cars here, so trying to take a look here. I definitely see we've got Tim, we've got Hunter. I think that's going to be a Nemonism who just gets passed by Crafton there. Who do we have in the middle there? Is that going to be Bullet? It's Bullet. Okay, getting caught up in the mix. So Anemonism does fall back, but they do now have the front row seat to the three-way battle up in front. Bullet finds themselves falling a little bit further down as they're getting lapped by traffic. Are going to try and let a few of these guys go. Big Dean Energy and Miguel Cizeron do go in for their pits, it seems. So 22 minutes remaining, and seems the back half of the grid has taken on a different pit strategy than the guys up in front. Ooh, you can hear that Audi topping out. Oh, and big contact as we turn away for just a second. Anemonism sends Tim's flying. Ooh, sends Tim flying into Christian Crafton. We've got a big three-way collision here. A nice gap, though, before the leader makes their way out. I'm not entirely clear what happened. We just happened to be at the wrong angle trying to check out what the Ferrari had going on. But that is unfortunate. Or sorry, what the Audi had going on. Let's take our look up in front. El Garrido the Great is going to slowly start to see these guys, I think, on some of the longer straights as they make their way closer and closer. Only 21 minutes remaining as they'll be going through for another lap without a pit. Let's see if we can see P2 behind. Boat still 8 seconds away. 20 seconds remaining, so they got a long way to go. It's looking pretty good. Osh putting up some consistent laps there. He did put up a 146.6 on the last lap, and that's going to be his fastest of the session. Boat, though, has a fastest of a 146.004. So if they can get back to that pace, they have a chance. Tommy Boy, it looks like, going into the pits. So he'll be one of the first front runners, so to speak, to head on in. And let's see where that puts him out along the grid. Did he calculate this right? Because he's going to want a little bit of a gap. He's not going to want to be sitting in traffic. All right, starting to get through. It looks like he'll at least be in the gap between Rev and Floaty. But it's going to be close as these guys come flying down the straight. He doesn't have a lot of speed. Oh, I think he's going to be behind the BMW. He is. So he does have one man to pass before he's out and lapping at his normal pace. And we'll see how long it takes him to do that. Sometimes this can trigger a wave. Tommy Boy is one of those racers far enough up in the standings to where we might see some reactionary pit stops on this next lap. The leaders are starting to get close to lap traffic, so might be in their best interest to do it and give themselves a nice gap between them and the men up front. But Tommy Boy is going to find the pace through Snake. And Rev will let off a little bit to try and let Tommy Boy resume his fight as he flies through Southern Bend with a lot of pace. Bot Lando, the other GTR, does come into pits as well. We'll check in with him and see where that sets him up. Patchy not yet going in for the pits. See a few custom pit tags actually down the line here. Same with Duckham's and some of these other ones. So Dapper's going to get through there. Looks like Project Purple as well. Can Floaty make it through? That Lamborghini is pretty quick, and he's got a little bit of ways to go. Floaty enters the pits. And Todd Moonbounce comes around to unlap himself. So again, Bot Lando has one person to pass before getting to kind of resume a little bit of the normal traffic flow. Not sure if a little miscalculations there or just eyeballing it, but either way, that hopefully the traffic doesn't end up being a deciding factor later on. You have Rev and Hunter both going in for the pits now. See Hunter going on down the line. Got a nice late pit box, so that'll help out just a touch, not too much. Might have to back it in. Were they able it? Seems like they are at least in the box enough to trigger what they need to. Osh the Great does come in, so Boat's going to keep pushing. So this is going to be the tell. Boat is going to be going for a different strategy. We'll see how different, as now they need to make the most of this open-ish space in front. These pits are going to start to really switch up the grid a little bit until everybody finds their way through. And El Garrido finds himself sitting with a comfortable P3. Patchy and Boat both yet to pit. 30 seconds, it seems, the gap. I'm not sure exactly how long the pit stop takes with the refueling. Everybody has had to suffer it so far, or will at least by the end. Boat a little bit off the pace on this lap. We're just sticking with them to see if they head into the pits now or if they're going to continue to push. If they are, we'll swing on back to some of the other action we have going on. It's like Tim and Hunter with a little bit of contact there. Sends Hunter for a slight spin, but nothing that's going to cost Patchy too much time. But it does cost a few seconds to Boat up front. That could, again, just be Boat's pace pushing it real hard as they get closer and closer to Rev up front. And they are going to pull into the pits, so this is what I was looking for. I don't think they made up 8 seconds in a lap by any means, but let's take a look and see where they come out in relation to Osh the Great. Goes a little far. Looks like still able to get the pit. These guys are going slightly far. Ooh, wow, look at that side-by-side there as Patchy and Tim find themselves in a little bit of a side-by-side. Boat not able to make it out before Osh comes around. Just taking a look here at Patchy and Tim. Patchy able to make it through. Looks like Tim, a little bit of a bump, but wasn't nothing that stopped either of the racers from performing. Boat did seem to make up a second, though, with that strategy. Went from 8 seconds to 7.2. Could have been off of the lap, but he will have to keep the pace now and start to chip away with only 15 minutes remaining. So not a lot of race left to go. A couple of different races going on right now. So we've got Boat still trying to chase down Osh in front. Not sure where Patchy's going to end up after he ends up pitting. We do have a Neminism and Christian Crafton still fighting it out, as well as Todd Moonbound slowly creeping up on Big Dean Energy in the battle for P14. So 30 minutes in, still a little bit of action going on. And we do have some lap traffic making things interesting. See, there's only 6 seconds between P2 and P1, but multiple cars in the way. Everyone's got to make their way through a little bit. Actually, we're going to tune in shortly here. Looks like Christian and Neminism take their pits at the same time. This is going to be interesting. This is a dangerous spot to go for it. But Osh somehow survives and makes it through. And swings into the hog pen there. Now that does give Boat gives Boat a 3-second jump on the gap there. So definitely going to help them out. But Boat is also going to have to make their way through that same green Ferrari, which has been a little bit of a cause of some traffic issues. Ooh, Dapper ends up going off into the grass. I think a little lock up there prevents the turn in. Boat flashes the Ferrari to let them know they are on the way. And we'll see if the Ferrari is able to leave the space there. Oop, and a spin. And that is a huge blow to the race. We'll see Boat get across the grid and at least get back onto the track, able to avoid anything there. Sorry, we're back here. I do see something weird going on with the standings there. Nope, doesn't look like these guys are actually that close together, but Christian Crafter does have a BMW breathing down his neck, and I think that's going to be El Garrido the Great not far behind. So although there was an incident there, there's a lot of traffic that stands between Osh and the checkered flag. There's no reason to say that there won't be some more incidents, so to speak, later on. 9.6 seconds separating Boat and Dapper. And I think Patchy still is yet to pit. Do we think Patchy's going for the one-stop strategy? Was that a viable option? I don't see... Yeah, Patchy is yet to pit. Same with Dapper and Project Purple as well. They're going to be our last few racers to do so. Let's take a look in with Patchy and see how he's faring. Looks like at least down the back straight, he's keeping it clean. See the cars off in the distance behind. And a nice line through Oak Tree there, but more importantly, it looks like Project Purple's got some company as the orange GTR looking for a passing opportunity. I think this is after, Botlando has already passed. Big Dean Energy and Todd Moonbounce with a little bit of a collision, it seems. Boat, let's see, spins somewhere along the way. Let's take a peek in with Boat. Oh boy, Boat goes way wide, it seems, somewhere in the South Bend. I'm assuming the tires are going to be a little bit raw given the Lamborghini's risky nature. Powering through though, only 10 minutes remaining. We definitely respect the perseverance given the unfortunate circumstances. Now find themselves in a little bit of no man's land, which is unfortunately the safest place to be when the bad luck strikes from all around. That's really the only way to describe it at this moment. Boat's just been hit with every bad luck opportunity. It's a bit of Murphy's Law on the track for them today. An excellent race on their end. No wrongdoing, I'm sure, but it's just unfortunate from what we've seen, at least. 146.004, fastest lap on the board for them. Very, very well earned. And we'll see if they get a chance to do something with it. They'll at least have to defend a little bit from the Audi of Dapper behind. Now 5 seconds apart. Speaking of defend, I do see, I was going to say Hunter defending from the Audi of Anemonism in front, who has a brilliant save, loses the chance for any type of passing opportunity for a little bit here, but at least makes it cinematic as they head into the Oak Tree after a nice recovery through the South Bend. Taking a look, it looks like P4 Tommy Boy is going to have to work his way through lap traffic in a moment of Fudzy sitting P13. Fudzy sees the lap traffic coming up behind and lets him go. Oh, that's going to be Tommy Boy kind of thanking him with a little flash of the lights, I'd imagine. 4.3 seconds separating him and his fellow GTR ahead. Let's take a look at the timings. He was 3 seconds faster on the last lap, but their best laps only half a second apart. So Tommy definitely going to need a little bit of misfortune on Lando's end to make it happen. But it's not out of the question yet. Definitely pulling in closer and closer. Same with Osh slowly catching up to Patchy, who has still not pit. I think there's actually a car that's nestled in between there. There is. That's going to be Rev 174 in the BMW. Nestled right between the lead car and Osh. You got to wonder how much longer Patchy can go. 7.5 minutes remaining. You start to wonder if he's trying to go all the way. I'm not certain it's possible, but if anyone could find a way, it'd be the man from across the pond. As we actually have both Europeans still in the race, leading currently. I don't think we have any other Europeans still in. Going through the roller coaster, El Garrido the Great. Looking pretty good. Slowly making moves closer and closer to Patchy in the hog pen, and this is going to be it. So Patchy finally pulls off. I was wondering when it was going to be. We'll see Lando go by. Nope, that's going to be Rev. Lando actually has quite a way to go. I don't think Patchy would be able to stay out ahead of Lando and Tommy Boy. But Boat is going to be the question, really. So we see a large chunk of the grid going by there. Tommy Boy finds himself within 2 seconds of Lando now in the battle for P2. So that has blown the doors of that battle wide open. And I believe that's going to be Boat entering the end of this straight here. Fuzzy whipping past. So it gives Boat a little bit of a target. Ooh, as Patchy with the cold tires goes diving into the horseshoe, contact with the BMW, and now makes it just that much more realistic for Boat. Only 2.5 seconds to catch up to the Porsche in front. He's got a race now in the battle for P4. Might not sound like much, but it's a good way to salvage the last couple points here. Which is going pretty well. Osh 23.8 seconds ahead of the pack. So Osh has pretty much locked this thing in, barring some sort of miracle. We do feel bad. Boat should be right up there with him, but 30 seconds plus of misfortune caused by getting spun out and things like that. Real trooper for moving on through, and moving on through he does as he carries incredible speed through Oak Tree, down the back straight, flies on by. 14 seconds between him and Tommy Boy. I wonder if he's going to go for it somehow. I mean, if anyone's determined enough to make it happen, I feel like it's got to be him. But speaking of determination, we're still watching the two GTRs battle it out with 4 minutes remaining, or just over. It's going to be close to see if these guys get overtime based on lap times versus what we've got left. Don't forget, whether or not we do an extra lap is pretty much entirely up to Osh, as he's got 20 seconds to spare. So if he's close enough, he can sit on the line if he doesn't feel like making the grid do another one. Ooh, we have a little bit of a spin-off there. That's going to be the Anemonism, who finds themselves a little bit further away from Hunter in P11. Those two have been having a good battle throughout the evening. as we keep our eyes on familiar sights here. These two GTRs, for being in the same class, do seem to, or sorry, being on the same team, so to speak, do seem to really end up battling each other a lot. I'd say, judging by Bot Lando, we'd have to call it Papaya rules, as Tommy Boy goes into the gravel turn one. Tommy Boy goes through Oak Tree. And we're hearing now that the team is telling Lando, who is almost 6 seconds away, to slow down and let him up. Tommy Boy is 2.5 seconds behind Lando. I'm getting all these flashbacks all of a sudden. 100 lap traffic there is going to actually help Tommy Boy out, as Tommy will be close enough to, I think, get a little bit of a tow down this final straightaway. Ooh, unless Hunter lets off, like it seems like he is. Could just be the speed difference between the two. But that gets Tommy Boy a little bit closer there, within 2 seconds and 2 minutes remaining. This is the biggest battle we've got going on. Floaty slowly trying to creep into Project Purple as well. And Miguel Cizeron in the Scarlet Red looking for a shot at Big Dean Energy. So few battles alive. This one currently the closest. We'll see if Tommy Boy can make it happen. The last lap, he found himself just 0.3 seconds ahead of Lando as far as pace goes. Car in front is going to be Christian Crafton in the Ombre Porsche. I don't think these guys are going to catch up in the next 2 laps here, so that should give them enough space to battle. But Tommy needs to catch up, because not only does he need to get there, he needs to get past. Both GTRs taking a wide run through Oak Tree as they head into the back straight. Tommy Boy not able to get much closer just yet. Osh definitely going to pass the line for an extra lap, but it won't be anything crazy. So one more lap from here. It looks like these guys are going to be doing 25 laps for the evening as the grid heads through the roller coaster. And Tommy Boy lines himself up for one final laps of opportunities. Going down the main straight together, the two GTRs. We're going to pop around the grid real quick just to see what's happening. So P14 and P15, we've got Todd Moonbounce up ahead here in the GTR. I meant to start from the back here, but we've got we got Tim in the green Ferrari, Bullet in the P1 Audi. We've got Miguel Cizeron, Big Dean Energy, Todd Moonbounce, Fudzy, Anemonism, Hunter, Chris Grafton, Rev, Floaty, Purple, Dapper, Patchy, Boat, and one hell of a battle going on up front between Tommy Boy and Bot Lando. I know we haven't shown much love to your race leader, Osh the Great, or El Garito the Great, but unfortunately, they are just a little bit too far ahead of the pace for us to keep in the camera. And Tommy Boy is pushing it, but I think Lando knows that they need everything out of this lap. They are not leaving it to chance, really sticking to the limits. I do see Hunter looking for an opportunity on Chris Crafton as well, or Christian Crafton. Tommy Boy with a little late break through the roller coaster, trying to inch closer and closer. It's going to need some sort of miracle to make it happen, but it's not completely out of the question. Speaking of out of the question, we do see Hunter really starting to creep closer and closer to the man up front. It looks like Tommy Boy's not going to be able to make his. Can Hunter? Hunter will not be able to either. All right, so a lot of great action leading to the end, but unfortunately no one able to make the most of their passing opportunities. We You see quite a few guys flying in together. So to recap your grid at the end of 45 minutes through VIR, we've got El Garrido, Bot Lando, Tommy Boy, Boat, Patchy, Dapper, Project Purple, Floaty, Rev, Christian, Hunter, Anemonism, Fudzy, Todd, Big Dean Energy, the Scarlet Ferrari of Miguel Cicerone, Bullet, Tim, and then Cheeses and Speed Bump were unfortunately unable to complete today's events. But we're part of them nonetheless. Got a few more racers coming across the line. I think they're having a little bit of a battle to see who will be the driver that we hang on to till the last possible second. But Todd Moonbounce will be the first one to cross the line in the number 28 Lamborghini, with Bullet not too far behind, as they have a little bit of a spin through the final turn, and gives us plenty of time to watch them cross the line as our final racer of today. You flash those headlights, you deserve it. And there we have it. That will be the end of week 2. We got a little bit of a break going on, and then we'll be back before you know it. Tune in Sunday for the endurance race. That's going to be a fun one. We'll get Mo